We meet again for another segment of trending news every day right here at 4 p.m. This is the right place for you to come for your updates on what's happening here at home and elsewhere around the globe. Well, today a look at Martha Koome's inauguration as well as FKF's misuses of funds. Last but not least, Kajiado workers go unpaid whilst the Ministry of Health advises us to keep an eye on our diet during this pandemic. These and more coming up with me, Joy Mochache. But before that, I'd like to start you off with our highlights. In our highlights today, Chief Justice Martha Koome chairs the inaugural session of the Supreme Court. Also in our highlights, 3 people have been sentenced to 16 years in prison on charges of poaching wild game. The EAC has approved 2.2 million shillings for employee salary arrears repayment. This and more coming up. Remember, I would love it if you engaged with me about this bulletin. Let me know your thoughts and your sentiments on Facebook as well as Twitter. That's at LookUpTV, or text me at 20374. Why don't we jump right in then? Today, Chief Justice Martha Koome, in an inaugural sitting of the Supreme Court, admitted that the 2017 Supreme Court ruling declared the mandatory sentence unconstitutional. The Supreme Court has ruled that the Maruatetu case, can only be applied in murder cases. In regards to the offense of murder, the ruling had created a lot of confusion in its application. The directions they were using were to help give guidelines on how it will be applied. Our reporter, Carol Wangari-Wanjiru, with more on that story.
Thousands of prisoners who hope that they could get their freedom by riding on Muruatetu case for lesser sentences have been dealt a blow after the Supreme Court ruled they cannot ride on that judgment any longer.
For avoidance of doubt, this decision does not outrule the death penalty, which is still applicable as a discretionary maximum punishment. We therefore reiterate that this court's decision in Muruatetu did not invalidate mandatory sentences or minimum sentences in the Penal Code. The Attorney General is directed to urgently set up a framework to deal with sentence rehearing of cases relating to the mandatory nature of the death sentence, which is similar.
Presiding the first inaugural sitting of the Supreme Court, CJ Martha Koome, on behalf of her 6 colleagues of the Apex Court on Tuesday, stated the Muruatetu case can only apply to murder, and other capital offences such as treason and robbery with violence should be properly filed in court.
With regard to the mandatory death sentence in offences other than murder, we direct in respect of other capital offences such as treason under Section 43, robbery with violence under Section 296(2), and attempted robbery with violence under Section 297(2) of the Penal Code. Muruatetu, as it now stands, cannot directly be applicable to those cases. To that extent, relevant to the matters under review.
Further, the court said the cases filed should be presented and fully argued before the High Court and escalated to the Court of Appeal if necessary, at which a similar outcome as Muruatetu may be reached.
And 6 to 6.7 of the Judiciary Sentencing Policy Guidelines, which were to the effect that the court must impose the death sentence in all capital offences in accordance with the law. In view of our holding in the judgment in question, those paragraphs were no longer applicable. It should be apparent from the foregoing that Muruatetu cannot be the authority for stating that all the provisions of the law prescribing mandatory or minimum sentences are inconsistent with the Constitution.
The court held the decision of Muruatetu and the guidelines apply only in respect to sentences of murder, as provided for under Sections 203 and 204 of the Penal Code. In the Muruatetu case, the Supreme Court in 2017 declared the mandatory sentence unconstitutional for the offense of murder. Since December 2017, when the Muruatetu judgment was delivered, thousands of inmates have had their sentences reduced and others released from jail using that ruling. Carol Wangari-Wanjiru, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Thank you so much, Caroline Wangari Wanjiru, for that detailed story. A court in Voi has sentenced 3 men to 16 years in prison each after they were convicted of poaching in the Tsavo East National Park. Principal Magistrate Cecilia Kidinji found the trio guilty of killing and possessing the meat of 187 dik-diks. Dik-diks are an animal in the antelope family found in the Tsavo National Park. In addition to the jail sentences, the 3 will also pay a total fine of 2.2 million shillings. Here's Waris Kimathi with the rest of the story.
A magistrate in Taita Taveta County has sentenced 3 poachers to 16 years each in prison for poaching dik-diks in Tsavo East National Park. Police intercepted the poached wildlife while it was being transported in 5 boda-boda motorbikes near Voi town. The 3 men, Kaviha Charo, Katana Unda and Bugosolohu, will serve time in the Manyani Maximum Prison for the poaching of 187 dik-diks, a type of antelope found in the Tsavo National Park. The convicted persons were found with over 500 kilograms of game meat, hunting materials and other apparatus used in the illegal practice. While handing out the sentences, Voi Principal Magistrate Cecilia Kidinji said that the pronouncement will help to slow down the rising cases of poaching in the Tsavo area. Waris Kimathi, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Thank you so much, Waris Kimathi, for that story. Wow, 500 kilograms of game meat. That's such a shame. Why don't we move on? The Football Kenya Federation, FKF, has been under heat recently. This comes after Auditor General Nancy Gathungu paid the FKF a visit where she found out a tyranny of irregularities in funds appropriation. Our reporter, Jefferson Mwai, will tell us more.
Auditor General Nancy Gathungu has been on the move querying disbursement of funds in the Football Kenya Federation FKF. This has put FKF boss Nick Mwendo on the spot since he received a payment of 11 million shillings between April and November 2019 without authorization or any requisite document. Gathungu also queried payment of allowances to Harambee Star players amounting to 57 million shillings, with some getting allowances of more than 6 months. Also on the spot is the irregular disbursement of 529.9 million shillings to organizations not registered by the Commission of Sports. Gathungu also queried why the department had not remitted employees' pensions of up to 7 million shillings. Carol Wangari Wanjiru, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Such great work for researching that, Jefferson. Why the East African community has made a move to pay off salary and allowances that are owed to its employees and leaders through a supplementary budget that was presented on June the 28th. The supplementary budget presented on 28th of June by Chairperson of the EAC Council of Ministers, Kenya's CS Adan Mohammed, to plug the deficit reveals the East African Legislative Assembly members are still owed $252,980 in sitting allowances. According to the supplementary budget, EAC organs and institutions including the Secretariat, members of the Parliament and Lake Victoria Basin are owed more than $2.2 million in arrears. The supplementary budget was not passed last year following a dispute between EALA and the Secretariat over sitting allowance arrears totaling to $2.5 million. Adan Mohammed, the chairperson of the EAC Council of Ministers Cabinet Secretary, said the council is seeking approval by the Assembly, EAC Secretariat, Lake Victoria Basin Commission, Lake Victoria Fisheries Organization, and East African Science and Technology Commission, as well as East African Health Research Commission. Joy Muchache, Look Up TV. Right, and why don't we get a little bit of what's happening in terms of our pandemic before we take a short break? Casual workers from Kajiado Referral Hospital continue to strike, marking its 5th day in strikes. Casual workers complained about the delay in their 5-month salaries. Health CSE Esther Somoire promised employees that they will be paid today. More on COVID-19, the Ministry of Health advises citizens on the proper diet to consume during this pandemic. Our health reporter Keith Gitonga with more.
Casual workers from Kajiado Referral Hospital came together in unity and headed to Governor Lenku's office. These workers were furious for they haven't received their 5-month salary and accused leaders of using intimidation and at times issuing promises that they haven't been fulfilled. They say their lives have become more miserable, many unable to provide for their families.
Sisi watoto wetu hawajaenda shule hiyo mwezi 6. Sisi zaidi tunapigiwa masimu na mwalimu. Na serikali yenyewe wanasema haina haja watoto akae nyumbani na hakuna pesa nalipia watoto yetu shuleni na hakuna chakula naletea watoto yetu nyumbani. Sasa sisi tukisema tunadai haki yetu na serikali anasema tufanye kazi. Sasa ile wala afanye kazi ni shida, wala anafanya ni shida. Sasa serikali anataka nini tufanye hii Kenya yetu?
Miezi sita mkisikia miezi 6 hatunjapewa pesa. Hiyo ni nusu mwaka. Mimi nafanya katika department ya theater. Theater maalum najua uchafu yote ndio inakuanga. Mimi ninakuanga ninafanya theater. Na katika hiyo hali yote hatunjawahi kataa kufanya kazi. Tumekuwa tukiambiwa tuvumilie. Kila wakati tukienda kuitisha tunasembiwa tuvumilie.
Nimeshangaa sana. Kwa sababu hauwezi shika mtu ambaye anadai haki yake na ni shilingi 7,500 kwa mwezi, na hiyo miezi yote ambaye haujamlipa hata umuongeleshi vizuri.
As workers chant, they accompanied health officials and later on held demos outside the referral hospital facility and at the governor's office in a quest hoping their cries will be heard.
That the unpaid wages owed to casual workers were due to be paid starting tomorrow, Tuesday, July 6th, 2021.
CEO of Finance Elias Kisota said that the delay of payment was due to cash flow challenge attributed to the national government. He also added that employees will be paid today, but this won't happen to employees who haven't been doing their jobs.
In engagement of casuals, it's a temporal and even you are paid based on the number of days that you have been engaged. So even for this one who are protesting, for the days that they have not reported to duties, definitely they will not be paid.
Today, the Ministry of Health together with AMREF Africa held a conference regarding to the diet during this COVID-19. Director Nutrition Veronica Kirogo is reminding Kenyans that eating nutritious foods that are safe is important as we deal with this COVID-19 pandemic. By eating variety of legumes combined with vegetables and whole starchy grains will provide minerals and vitamins that are essential in preventing severe illness. Keith Gitonga, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Thank you so much, Keith Gitonga, for that. Such a sad story indeed. We're going to take a short break at this point, and as we do so, get into your social media handles. You can see them at the bottom of the screen. Get in touch with me and let's engage. We're coming right back. Don't go too far.
You're watching Look Up TV. To grow your business, broadcast your sermon, share birthday wishes, make funeral announcements, produce adverts and documentaries, then book and advertise with us today by calling us on +254 700 893 542 700 893 542 or email us on sales@look-up.tv.
You guys have to tweet about this. What phone is this? Hey, looks good. How much is it? You haven't heard of the Optiven offer? No. I must excuse you invest too. Optiven has this amazing offer. If you make a commitment of 900k in any of their value-added projects, you get rewarded with a cool smartphone, bro.
Like, follow, subscribe, click the notification button. Join the Look Up TV movement now. You're watching Look Up TV.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for sharing some of your comments. I'm going to read a couple of them, and as you continue to listen to our bulletin, I hope that you share more with me. Starting from right up at the top, Christine is joining us. Bilidian Kada is with us as well, and Karen Dambari, who is watching us from Karen. Thank you so much for tuning in all the way from Karen. And James Kinyua shares with us, good job down in Voi. Kenya needs to put its foot down on poachers. Why don't we continue, and then I shall read the rest of your comments. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, in a briefing to Ethiopian lawmakers, has said that the country will shut down several embassies, including the one in Kenya. This move is aimed at cutting down costs, with most diplomats working as non-resident ambassadors. Roger Mwiruki with more to that story.
Abiy Ahmed has said that Ethiopia should only have 60 or so embassies and consulates at the present moment. He added, instead of throwing US dollars everywhere, at least 30 of the embassies should be closed and the ambassadors should instead be in Ethiopia. Ahmed Abiy stressed the need for the Ethiopian Ministry of Foreign Affairs to undergo serious reforms, giving examples such as instead of hiring drivers, government ministers will be required to drive themselves. Following the conflict in Tigray, the Ethiopian government's resources have been overstretched. Last week, Ethiopia's government halted the attack on the Tigray People Liberation Front after the war's costs started affecting the country's economy. Addis Ababa has admitted that the country had lost about $2.3 billion since the conflict in the Tigray region erupted in November 2020. The question, however, is, will the closure of as many as 30 Ethiopian embassies have a significant impact on Ethiopia's age-old diplomatic relations with countries, including Kenya? In other news, fire broke out at the Synagogue Church of All Nations located at Ikotun area of Lagos, Nigeria. The fire incident happened on the night of the candle procession in honor of the late founder of the church, Prophet Joshua, popularly known as TB Joshua. The church has confirmed in a press statement that the fire was caused by a minor electrical hitch at a storehouse within the Synagogue Church of All Nations complex, and that there were no casualties. The Synagogue Church of All Nations has also announced that Prophet TB Joshua will be laid to rest on the 9th of July at the church premises in Lagos. Roger Muriuki, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Thank you so much, Roger Mwiruki, for that international roundup. Well, let's come right back to Kenya. Kirinyaga and Nyeri counties have reported the highest numbers of obesity in women. According to data released by the Ministry of Health, 1 in every 4 children under 5 years in the country has stunted growth. Experts also warn that malnourished children have a higher risk of illness and death. Brenda Mwashumbe has more.
According to a report by the Ministry of Health, 1 in every 4 adults aged between 18 and 69 is obese. The report shows that women are the most affected at 39% compared to 18% of men. Kirinyaga County leads in the number of obese and overweight women at 54.4%, followed by Nyeri at 49.2%, Mombasa at 48.2%, Murang'a at 47.3%, and Kiambu at 45.7%. On the other hand, 9% of women aged between 15 and 49 are undernourished. The data also shows that 1 in every 4 children under 5 years in the country is stunted. This means that out of 7.2 million children under 5 years, 1.8 million are stunted. That represents 26%. At least 290,000 children are too thin for their heights. 11% of them are underweight, while 4% are overweight. The high level of malnutrition in the country has been attributed to low dietary intake, diseases, food security, childcare practices, environmental hygiene and safety, policy, environment, and social protection system. According to the data, 41.6% of pregnant women are anemic, while 26.8% of preschool children are also anemic. This represents 1 in every 4 children. The majority of the population is zinc deficient regardless of age, sex, residence, or income. Major causal factors of micronutrient malnutrition are inadequate access to a variety of foods, lack of knowledge on optimal dietary practices, and high incidence of infectious diseases. The most common deficiencies among the Kenyan population include iron, folate, zinc, iodine, and vitamin A. Experts warn that undernourished children have a higher risk of illness and death. In schools, these children often suffer from low IQ, poor performance, absenteeism, and repetition of classes. It is estimated that Kenya loses 374 billion shillings annually due to child malnutrition. The country has, however, made some progress towards achieving its nutrition targets. The level of stunting has been reduced from 35% in 2009 to 26% in 2014. Child wasting has reduced from 7 to 4% and increased in the rate of exclusive breastfeeding from 32 to 61%. Despite these milestones, regional disparities exist, with some counties reporting high levels of malnutrition. Additionally, micronutrient deficiency remains a public health concern, especially for women and children. In order for the country to achieve sustainable development goals and Vision 2030, nutrition must be given greater priority. The Ministry of Coordinating the implementation of multi-sector Kenya Nutrition Action Plan must accelerate and scale up efforts towards elimination of all forms of malnutrition by 2030. Brenda Moshumbe, Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Thank you so much, Brenda Moshumbe, for that. Let's try and move on to the next story that we have. Police in Home are in a hunt for the suspected killers of a 23-year-old Kenya Medical Training College female student called Emily Chepkemoi. Chepkemoi was found dead in a pool of blood on Sunday afternoon at a rental house in Oriang Estate after she went missing for more than 48 hours. The foul smell of her decomposing body drew attention of the curious neighbors, who later called security officers. Chepkemoi, who was a first-year clinical medicine student, was last seen on Friday, according to some of her classmates. And according to the police, physical examinations on the body show she may have been raped. And how about we talk about our sports, and then we shall check out your comments. Kenya's first batch of team will be leaving for the Tokyo Olympic Games this evening to the Japanese capital, Tokyo. And Italy and Spain face off in Wembley Stadium at the UEFA Euro semi-final. Alvin Kausai with our sports roundup.
Kenya's first batch team will be flying for Tokyo Olympics at 6 p.m. alongside athletes representative Humphrey Kayange, COVID-19 liaison officer Susan Adhiambo, and Waithaka Kioni. The team will be living in small bunches in order to ease the team's COVID-19 protocols and testing and avoid the risk of the whole team getting quarantined in cases of COVID-19 cases. The national women's volleyball team, Malkia Strikers, will be the second batch to leave on a Thursday and will be followed by Kenya Sevens and Kenya Lioness Sevens Rugby on Sunday. Sprinters will leave on July 13 to join the pre-Olympics training base in Koome City. The new group of athletes will depart on July 23rd, while the marathon teams will leave the country on August 1st. Elsewhere, Italy and Spain will be colliding today for the 7th time in the European Championship. Their meeting will mark Italy versus Spain being the most played fixture among European nations in the major tournament history, like Euro and World Cup. Alvin Kosai, Look Up TV, Sports.
Thank you so much, Alvin Kausai, for that sports. Before I let you go, I shall be continuing with these comments from Roger Edward, who says, great piece of work. Asante Sana. And Christine, watching us from Nakuru. Mumbi Nyukabi, Kenya should just change its name to corruption. That's funny. And Bilidian Katha, 5 months' salary is too much, according to me, amidst the pandemic. Let the health workers be paid their dues. Joshua Kamau, who is watching from Amboseli, says, props to the Look Up team that made the broadcast a success indeed. And again, Keith Nyaga, who is saying, truly, it is sad seeing that the casual workers haven't been getting their salary. That's right. And again, he adds, we should look at our diet as the pandemic continues to be a menace. Papu Thakur is watching us as well. And we're so grateful that you guys have tuned in. Unfortunately, that's all we have for you today here on Trending News. Grateful to the team that helped put this bulletin together and everyone else who made this bulletin possible, as well as Ignatius Munyeri, who helps me with my teleprompter. I will be with you again on Thursday, but with another update. From our very own Fiona Kenga will be coming in at 7 p.m. for the Tarifa Coup. Until then, keep warm, be safe, and have a pleasant evening ahead.